Okay, looks like we're back to square one again with me in this cooking video because I'm still getting used to how it all works and figuring it all out. And we've got our bacon going in our Dutch oven over here. I've got it on a low to medium heat, and I've got it cut up into chunks. So, and it's just regular bacon, Jimmy Dean bacon. We don't have long strips. And I've got a piece of onion here that I'm throwing out because it's the outside part of the onion. All right. Now, it calls for more onion than this, the recipe, but we'll get started with that. And I have this lovely big onion. You know, the bigger the onion, the sweeter the onion. So I bought this big onion at the store. And we'll use some of that. I'm going to cut it in half because we don't need all of it. Because I still have a small piece from the other day when I was cooking. And then I have my trusty little onion keeper, and it just about fits in there, the big galupa of a onion. Can I get it to fit? Well, I'll fool around with it a little bit later. We'll put this over here. Anyway, let's cut up this onion. So here's the one I just cut, and let's get all the end stuff off of it. Not too much on here. And I usually just peel it like this, and all of the brown bits come off fairly easily. That's good enough. And I'll throw that in garbage. Let's check on our bacon. Whoops, my towel fell. All right. Bacon's browning up nicely. Let's cut this onion. Come over here. Come on, there we go. So the easiest way I cut onions, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I just slice. This is a tough onion. I may need to sharpen my knife, but we'll get through it. And then I cut it this way, diagonally and then horizontally, or vice versa. And then we just cut this way, down the middle. Yeah, I think my knife has seen better days. Anyway, you get my drift. Same thing with this piece from the other day, which is actually softer and easier to cut than the onion I just cut. All right, there we go. And you know, I don't go nuts with cutting an onion. You know, like you cut the bloody onion. It's no big deal. And use your knife. You know, once you get some chunks cut up here, you just use your knife to get you some nice pieces. I don't care about julienning them and all of that. I learned how to do that stuff, but I'm more of a rugged individualist. And I just get in there and cut the bloody hell out of the onion and become a beast. And go ahead and get aggressive with it. Because after all, nobody's going to really be looking at these onions except for you and me. They're going in the pot and they're going to cook up. And they're going to get nice and soft and lovely. All right, here's the last bit of it that I'm cutting up. Trying not to cut my hand off while I'm at it. That would be something that would happen to me while I'm making my first video. To cut my bloody finger off, something like that. All right. So we're chopping along and chopping along. All right. But you know, at the same time, we don't want these humongous pieces of onion in our beef burgundy, because as they cook, they begin to melt and become wonderful flavor. A magical thing. Cooking is extremely magical, by the way. If you think about the purposes that cooking serves, it nourishes our body. What could be more magical than that? Oops, it always goes. There's always a piece that goes under something you don't want it to go under. It nourishes our bodies. It heals us. Many foods are extremely healing. It tastes good. It brings people together, which is very magical. All right, so let me see if I can just show you my lovely onions. There they are, everyone. Chopped up so nice. Okay, and I'm just gonna push them aside. I got a piece of onion on my arm. That's gonna smell nice tonight. May need to take a shower now. Another shower. So we're gonna push our onions over here, because those are good to go into the pot. Let's check our bacon. Ooh, look at that. So the bacon looks really nice, and as soon as it's done, I will show you. It's not quite ready, but we've got all those bacon bits down at the bottom of the pan, which make a magical taste. Just gonna rinse my hands off because I smell like a walking onion. And let's cut up some celery. So you can't buy just a few sprigs of celery at ShopRite here in Caldwell, New Jersey. You have to buy a whole big thing of it, 16 ounces. So it's always good to have in the house anyway, but we certainly don't need 16 ounces of celery in our beef burgundy. So that looks about right. And I'm just going to give it a quick rinse. It's always good to rinse things off before you cook them, before you prep them. Rinse them off a little bit or a lot if you need to. And just dry it off a bit so they're not squirming all over the place when I go to cut them. Oops. One got away. Rinse that again. All right. Now, let's cut these brown bits on the end off. You can see them. And I try to line them all up nice and even together. All right. And we'll cut those brown bits off. And now I'm just gonna make these a bit skinnier and cut them lengthwise a bit. And then I'll just chop them. And it's like, wow, my knife needs to be a lot sharper because this celery is kicking my knife's ass, but it'll be all right. We'll work it out. We always work it out. I hear my bacon popping over there. And once we've got it into these semi-small chunks. Oh, here's my towel. Here's my towel. Just let you see. We'll really have at it with a knife and make it smaller so they're more like the size of the onions. Hello. Okay. You know, celery is a funny thing. Obviously, it's more of a savory flavor than anything. But I don't know about you, but I've never been a big fan of celery all by itself. My first introduction of celery was not at home. We never had celery in my house growing up. Is when I got a bit older and I had my first Bloody Mary. It came with a sprig of celery. And it's actually quite good with a Bloody Mary. In fact, I wouldn't want a Bloody Mary without a sprig of celery, just because that's what I grew accustomed to. All right, chop this celery up pretty good, considering my knife is not the sharpest. This used to be my favorite knife, but I've beaten the hell out of it over time, and I think it might be time to get a better knife. Ugh. All right, let's throw these ends in the garbage. I'm over here, phone. You're supposed to move with me, bollocks. Okay. So now we have a nice little alley of celery and onions. And let's cut up some garlic now, because we'll need garlic in this recipe. And I got this nice sleeve of garlic. It was like $1.19, which to me is highway robbery for friggin' garlic. But what are you gonna do? So let me take some garlic out of here. And we don't need all of this garlic. This big old thing of garlic is not what we need. I'm gonna probably use half of that. And the recipe doesn't call for a lot of garlic, but I love garlic. Oh my Lord, this is really hard to get into. Come on, you. All right, there's one. There's two. Oh, that's a big one. Ooh, what a mess. And there's three. Let's do four. 4 cloves of garlic, and one of them is quite big. So I'm just moving all this paper-like outside business out of the way. All right. Let's check our bacon. All right. This bacon is ready to come out of the Dutch oven. It's the way I want it to be. Now, I'm going to be very careful picking this thing up because it's hot as hell. But anyway, probably need like a little ladle. Where's my ladle? I'll use this. Here we go. Over here. Phone. Here's our bacon. Now I'm going to leave as much as I can of this bacon. In the Dutch oven, because we're going to cook our veggies in it. And we're going to put this bacon back in the Dutch oven later on when we get all the other ingredients in. But right now, here's our lovely bacon. And this will go back on the stove, and I will turn this way down because we don't want a grease fire. Okay, so now some more aggressiveness with the garlic. So here we have a nice big, look at this sucker, and a nice big piece of garlic. And I'm just gonna take my knife, put it over the top, and give it a good hit. And all the paper and outside comes right off, and there's the lovely niblets of garlic. And we're gonna do that with the other pieces here too. Okay, sometimes when you hit it, all of the outside of it comes off in one fell swoop. All right, so we're gonna chop this garlic up pretty fine. And you'll hear me chopping away over here. I've yet to figure out how to get my phone to bend down enough so you can actually see me chopping away, but you can hear it, and I show it to you when I'm done, so that'll do for now. And oops, piece went flying onto the floor. Don't like when that happens, but anyway, we don't want gigantic pieces of garlic in our beef burgundy either. So I mince the garlic up pretty small. So we're mincing away. Okay. Let's have a look at this. I think that's fine. So, I'll show you my minced garlic. It looks lovely. And we'll just put this over in the vegetable alley for the time being. Oops. Don't want to put my phone on the chopping block. All right. So, we've got onion, we've got celery, and we've got garlic. And I found, let me just rinse my hand a wee bit. I found this can. I'm over here, phone. Yes. I found this can of diced carrots at ShopRite, which I think is great because you don't have to dice. And they were cheap and they're good quality. And for some reason, my husband was impressed by them. Stop moving about. But I like them. So I'm going to open these up because we're going to use these. Please excuse my back. I'll just bring this over here. Finally got a good can opener. Good Lord, we had some of the shittiest can openers. Old, didn't work. It's so frustrating when you're trying to cook. But we have a good one now. And it's ridiculous how much you have to spend to get a decent can opener. So I've drained the water out of my carrots and they look great. They're carrots, carrots, we're eating carrots. All right. So the carrots are gonna go in the pot with the rest of the veg. I've got some already cleaned and sliced mushrooms here that ShopRite preps for you, which I think is great. My husband hates mushrooms, by the way. I have to take my glasses off and wipe my bridge of my nose because I'm sweating a bit and my glasses are sliding all over the place. Anyway, Gerald does not like mushrooms, any kind of mushrooms. They're like, you know, the devil's food. They're just horrible and not his thing. So that means that I don't buy them much and don't cook them much for myself. And I love them, especially with a bit of garlic and onion and brandy and olive oil in the skillet. And they're wonderful. They taste terrific. So he's going to eat this beef burgundy and he's just going to have to pick out the mushrooms because I'm tired of living without my mushrooms, okay? I'm really tired of it. Let me have a sip of my green tea. I love green tea, by the way. I drink it by the gallons. We should take stock out on green tea. That's how much of it I drink. And let me move our garlic over here. And get rid of all of my garlic peels. I turned on the air conditioning in our house because my kitchen gets extremely hot when I cook, and so do I. So, you know, I deliberately put on a short sleeve shirt and got the air pumping because, I mean, I'm already sweating, but it's a labor of love, you know. Okay, so that's all of our vegetables that are going to go in our beef burgundy. And our pot is over here, and it's good and hot, and the grease is in it. And I'm just going to put a nub, well, actually 2 nubs of some salted butter in the Dutch oven, just because I love butter and it makes everything taste amazing. So I'm going to put that in there, and it's going to sizzle up. And I use this kind of olive oil. Everybody uses extra virgin olive oil. And I was taught the Italian way. We use olive oil, straight, good quality olive oil for most of our cooking. When you're going to be making salads and doing things with vegetables, then you use your extra virgin olive oil. But this is the olive oil that I use. And I'm going to put probably about a teaspoonful in with the bacon fat and the butter, just for good measure. Let's see how hot these handles are. They're pretty hot. I'm just gonna move this all around in our pot. Look at all that bacon grease down in there. There's actually a couple of bits of bacon in there that I want to get out because nobody wants to taste burnt bacon. All right, that's better. All right, let's pop off